Welcome to the Growth Fire Podcast, where we engage with top business leaders who share their experiences and provide real insights that help them attract customers, retain staff, and grow their bottom line. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi there, I'm Kevin Horrigan, and I'm the host of the show, where I feature inspiring business leaders from various backgrounds and industries who are willing to share their stories and insights. Today's episode is brought to you by Spearheads. At Spearheads, we help middle market and larger companies get more leads and customers. Hey, who doesn't want more leads and customers? At Spearheads, we take an end-to-end digital approach, starting with your website and making sure it has the right aesthetic appeal and convincing content to convert visitors into action. Then we look through all of your digital marketing tactics, such as search engine optimization, paid search, social media, paid social, email marketing, and more. With the correct website and optimized digital marketing campaigns in place, we assist our clients to attract more qualified leads, gather new clients, and grow existing as well. Spearheads, thank you so much for your sponsorship. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to www.spin.tech.com, spearheads.com. Thank you again. Today's guest is Laura Walmsley. She's the Chief Commercial Officer at Personify Health, the merger of Virgin Pulse and Health Comp that took place late last year. Laura leads the company's commercial go-to-market strategy with the responsibility for all client-facing teams, including client development, sales, and marketing. Laura has more than 20 years expertise in sales, marketing, account management, product, and reporting. She has been successful in middle market along with Fortune 500, identifying and deploying game-changing solutions that benefit health plans, health systems, with a focus on employers and their teams. Laura thrives on growth, which is why she's going to be a great guest on the Growth Fire podcast today. And she's passionate about empowering others to do their best. That includes colleagues, that includes customers, and that includes consumers. Laura, I can't wait to hear more. Thank you so much for joining us on the Growth Fire podcast.
Great to be with you, Kevin. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, so what an exciting introduction there. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself, where you grew up, what little Laura wanted to do when she became a big girl, and a little bit of that, please?
Absolutely. I love that question. We don't get to go in the Wayback Machine very much, but I'll go in the Wayback Machine. So I grew up in a little town in upstate New York. For those of you who know, New York is kind of two places, the city and upstate. So I grew up in a little town called Vestal outside of a little city called Binghamton. And I'd call it kind of, a classic Americana sort of upbringing. Enough green space and hills to enjoy and run around, but a big enough downtown to get into like a reasonable amount of trouble as a teenager and young adult as well. When I lived there and thought about what I wanted to be when I grew up, the one thing I didn't think of was anything to do with sales. I think my, 12-year-old self would be flabbergasted that I was making a career in sales and in commercial endeavors. I always pictured something kind of creative and always really cared about being altruistic. So my probably high school list was more like social worker, attorney was high on my list, civil rights attorney or something like that. And then I also really loved creative things. I actually have a degree in interior design as an example as well. So here, fast forward, several decades. The reality is my career actually is more like what I thought than I ever thought sales or commercial pursuits would be. As many of you know, in this world, it is incredibly creative. Yes. We're always, creating and inventing new processes, new use cases for our products and solutions come up. We create and develop completely new functionality that can expand on our current solutions as well. So I also get the chance to do a lot of good in my career to couple with that creativity. At Personify Health, our mission is empowering people to live healthier lives. And I really can't think of a better way to help than to help through my work than to make achieving and sustaining and maintaining health for people and their families possible.
Yeah, and I really like that response, Laura, and just you felt like, your younger self, that would be creative and altruistic and all these things. And your 12-year-old self would never believe that, sales would be the area that your career is taking its angle with. But I really like the added component too. Like, you feel it really is a creative role that you have today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of metrics and a lot of measurements and a lot of expectations and things that come with it. But it is a creative, I view the same thing. I think that the creative opportunity of what we're trying to reinvent processes, ways to go to market, how to try to have interactive conversations with people who we think we might have a great solution for. It is very creative, and it's not just in the byproduct of graphic design. It's creative in the strategy and how you go about things.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean the pressure of trying to make your numbers and all of that type of stuff too. But a very
there
creative
is that you don't get to get too creative with, right?
No, that part is pretty defined.
Yes.
But I think the more creative people can be, it gives them an opportunity to maybe make those, instead of continue to try to do what they've always done.
Yeah.
The people we're targeting are looking for new ways to interact with people. They often are not looking to be called upon and things of that nature. And so I do think it takes a creative mindset to be able to continue to find new and innovative ways to try to get your messaging in front of people who maybe have a desire or need, or maybe don't, but would if they knew more about it. And
right.
to get that messaging in front of them, a level of creativity, I think, is definitely an important part of the aspect.
Yep, spot on. I agree.
Yep. So you've had quite an impressive career in sales and marketing. You didn't go to school for this. It wasn't what you thought you were going to do. What attracted you to this line of work?
Yeah. I couldn't even quite tell you how I got started in it, right? Kind of fell into it one day with hey, why don't you try this over here? But what ultimately, has kept me here for decades is that I do really enjoy creating value. Right. You said it in my intro. I love creating value for my clients. I love creating value for my people, the employees of my company in general, but also on my team specifically, and for my company, right? The shareholder, important promise and value growth as well. And in sales and marketing and client development, it's really the heart of what I do every day and my team does every day as well, is create that value for our constituents. We inspire and support our clients to see that our solutions can create a better future for their people and their business. That's kind of, what all sales is in one way or another. But, that is what we get to do every day. And then by doing that, our company grows, right? We add value to the business. And of course, by adding value to the business, we can grow the careers of our people as well. And in turn, that means we can, here's the virtuous cycle, create ever better solutions and products and value back to our customers and keep that growing and going as well. So I absolutely love that about, my career. I love that about our business. And I think it's true about many businesses. In fact, any business that's going to be successful. But I think in sales and marketing, we get the unique opportunity to really be kind of at the front of that engine, driving it forward. And I've just, kind of hooked on that as a career and creating value across those three important constituents.
Well, and I just want to double click on that because you articulated something differently than I think most did, maybe in your creative way of doing so. but there's an old saying, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to.
Right.
And what I just heard you say about your thrill about being in sales and marketing as a profession, it's the opportunity to create value for people. It's value for your clients. It's value for your coworkers. It's value for your company. But your joy isn't selling something. Your joy is the opportunity of satisfying the stakeholders that you support and creating value for them. And I think going back to the old saying, people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to.
Right.
When you're creating value for any one of those stakeholders, the enjoyment is probably enjoyable. But if you're trying to sell to one of those, it probably is not for both parties. And I think looking at sales and marketing from a creative perspective and trying to figure out not only how do I make my numbers, but how do I bring value to the stakeholders who when I do that, my numbers will be complemented. It's a great way to look at how to be able to creatively try to earn the trust of clients, try to help grow your people, and ultimately your company grow as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it touches, Kevin, on what you were saying before as well of, each sales conversation, right? Each pitch, each discovery call, whatever you call them. We love the disco term around here. But each time you talk to a prospect, it is around deeply understanding what their need is and fitting your solution to their need. Any other type of kind of rote, I learned this in my pitch deck practice, or here's my, objection handling number 3, comes off as being just that. Now, of course, we all have to have those tools and resources from a training and development standpoint and enabling our sellers and our team to understand the message and the value proposition.
Yes.
But I think always great sellers are looking to deeply understand what a buyer is looking for, what they need, and then matching their solutions with them. And that's where the creativity comes in, where the fun comes in for me, but I think really where the real value comes in for the buyer as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that does go back from people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to. So when the people feel like it's just objection handling or script or that type of stuff, and we've all been around it numerous times, it doesn't become fun to be on the buying side of that. And probably not even for the coworkers that fun to be able to reading the script. They may be able to check the box. They're doing what they thought their job was, but really they just haven't been prepared correctly to be able to understand what the true questions or opportunities we discuss so they can figure out a creative way to solve them instead of leveraging a script to try to solve them, which is probably unfun for anybody on that journey.
Right.
But it's interesting how when you do have that knowledge and you can become very creative at finding a way to genuinely create value for it, there is a thrill to that. And I can remember, for years in the digital advertising space, having clients come into the office or have a Zoom call and have a team of people. My most fun, probably one of the most fun parts of my 25-year career in the digital advertising space has been the immediate getting in the car and driving away from the client's office, or immediately after a Zoom, getting on next and talk about what did you hear? What did you hear? And just that opportunity to get creative and bring all that trust together to uniquely solve and bring value to that. One of the most rewarding things over my 25 years was huddling with the team, talking about what everybody heard and what their thoughts were on how we create a unique solution that brings value to the client.
100%. Couldn't agree more.
So we've talked about what brought you into here. You enjoy bringing value, you enjoy being creative and doing all of that. Let me ask another question. In climbing through the ranks, so to speak, can you look back and see, is there any particular instance or something that was a game changer in your career advancement?
I couldn't say. It's a great question, and like reflecting for, a fun reflection for me. I don't think there's a single pivotal moment in my career, but I would say generally when I think about what really helped me move forward, a couple things come to mind. One is challenging times. I'm sure, pretty much everyone in the workforce right now was around in 2020 in the time of COVID. But, I was around in the .com bust and in the real estate crash and some other challenging times. And I do feel like those hard periods, call it a year or two, where the market was really, in a state of flux, where the market as a whole was concerned. Our customer base was moving really quickly and rapidly as to what they valued. And the need to grow a sense of responsiveness, to be hyper nimble in those uncontrolled circumstances, I think have been some of the environments that have really honed my skills, right? So to pivot the way on what, the market really considers using our products and services for as a market need rapidly changed. Certainly we saw this in COVID in my world, and I think in so many of our businesses. But also in light of that, to maintain a sense of calm and confidence in the team, which is a big part, when we think about sales and marketing leadership or leadership as a whole, right? Being able to kind of have that torch and lead a team forward through those uncontrolled and kind of unforeseen times, I think is a critical skill as well, and has certainly been a part of scaffolding up to, where my career is as well. And I think a lot of those skills get honed in those turbulent times where we have to be really quick, we have to take in data and respond quickly. And that's it's a good metaphor for business as a whole. Hopefully we don't always have to have things, so rapidly responded to, but I do think those tough times were some of the best in my career growth. A second thing also really comes to mind when I think about career growth, and that is the influences various people have had in my career. I really do love learning in general, and I love learning from people, and generally go about the world thinking that truly everyone has something to teach, right? Certainly something to teach me. And it includes my bosses and colleagues and employees. It includes my clients and my prospects, those discovery calls, right? I learn every time, having been on hundreds, but also, my friends, my family, even my children, right? right? And I've been lucky to have some real great mentors in my career who've pushed me to be more than I thought I was ready for. And I think that kind of push into something uncomfortable has also helped with my career growth as well.
No doubt. I think, and I'm going to ask you a mentor question here in a few minutes here. I'm going to ask you about some mentors, but
Yeah.
I think, as you're talking about some of those pivotal moments after you said bring scaffolding to help, raise your career. There's another old saying, adversity creates opportunity.
Yeah.
And, it sounded like, those difficult times that weren't expected to happen, really going back to some of our earlier conversations, created you to use your creative thinking to find different ways of creating value, because what you were doing before in this disruptive time didn't have that same result that it had prior.
Yeah.
But goes back to your 12-year-old self and the creative side of things.
Yeah.
And the passion to bring value and help people grow is to reinvent. When those factors that became adversarial to many, it was putting that creative hat on, revisiting. It isn't about what we're selling; it's what we're bringing that provides value, and figuring out how to revisit the scenario under the fresh set of circumstances in a creative but value providing way. And sounds like that gave you the scaffolding to continue to grow in your career.
Yeah. Yep. You got it.
Yep. So, Laura, I'm going to shift gears here real quick. So you're in charge of sales and marketing. So who is your target market that you serve today?
Yeah. So Personify Health, as you already mentioned, is the outcropping, the new coming together of two companies that have been around for a couple decades each, in Virgin Pulse and in Health Comp. So we are bringing together a unique set of services that we'll talk about as well. But the target market is also pretty unique and broad. So primarily we work with employers, right? So we're in the employee benefit space and the healthcare space. And the employers that we work with today are almost as broad as employers are around the globe. So we work with employers from as small as about 100 employees up to hundreds of thousands. I have the awesome opportunity to work with 25% of the Fortune 500 today on their health and healthcare services. So, get a lot of great exposure to the strategies, opportunities, and pressures that come with working with some of the largest and fastest growing companies on the globe. Our sweet spot is really employers who are looking for creative ways to manage their people costs, as you might imagine, whether that's healthcare, pharmaceuticals, care management, and then also supporting the services of well-being and targeting similar services like EAP and mental health, which has been really big within the employer space over the last couple of years as well.
Sure.
So we have some particular strengths. Global employers is really a strength for ours, as well as health systems like large hospital groups as well. But if you look at our client base, it's really all across the board from industry, a lot of manufacturing, a lot of white collar as well, all kind of managing those needs of how do we get our people empowered to live their healthier self and then supported when they do have health needs.
Sure. That's great. How do you go out? So you have very broad market. It's not very niche on there. How do you go to market to get new clients?
Yeah. So we go lots of ways, as you should always, right? Make sure that you're not putting too many eggs in a single basket, but I would summarize them in kind of two blends, right? Or a blend of two things, maybe said better. So one, we do go direct, right? So as I remind my team often, I started my career in sales as an SDR, right? Like outbound cold calling. When I woke up, and I did look it up online, but I woke up and looked up the newspaper, right? To see what companies were in the headlines that day, and started, banging the phones, sending emails. So we do go direct today for a good chunk of our lead opportunity and lead generation. We have outbound efforts and a dedicated team of SDRs that are actually increasingly supported by tech. So far beyond the days of looking up, the San Jose local newspaper or wherever your territory is. I think AI has really, when it comes to overall sales and marketing marketing. AI has changed the game maybe the fastest in the top of funnel work as well.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of direct work. And then secondarily, we also certainly do channel work as well. So we have partners that we kind of sell through, big health insurers, many of the big health insurers that you would think of are customers of ours who want similar, robust, equitable programs for their employers, right? So that's the customer base of big health insurers and health carriers. And then in my world, we have an intermediary value-added piece that is consultants and brokers. So obviously, each of our markets has a different type of resource who might be that channel, but consultants and brokers is really big in the employee benefits and health space.
Sure.
So we're constantly nurturing those relationships. Bringing our values. We talk a lot with our team. Certainly at the top of funnel SDRs and marketing is sometimes supportive of that. But when I work with our sales reps, we talk a lot with them about being outdoor cats, right? Like we are not a team of indoor cats kind of waiting to be fed, sitting by the window watching what happens. We are outdoor cats hunting for our next meal. And that largely can include, certainly being part of networking events and thought leadership, but also engaging with, consultants, brokers, and other channels like this to complement what we're doing in the, one-to-one relationships. And even there, we certainly see some great scale coming from technology today. We're using things like digital sales rooms and more as we see, email get overwhelmed and some of those other traditional channels. But, it is nice to be back into a world where you can grab a cup of coffee with somebody as well.
Right. No, absolutely. I totally agree with that. So did a great job explaining, very diversified approach on how you're acquiring new customer. What about maintaining existing clients or even helping grow existing clients?
Yeah, this is a big part of our world. When we look at our growth or bookings number every year, we're going to see about 40% of it come from growth in our current clients. So seeing those clients happy, satisfied, getting great value from the existing services they get from us, obviously to tee them up to want to expand their services and solutions with us is a huge part of how we grow value as a business. And I would say, the number one strategy we have there would be add value, right? A customer said to me once a long time ago, nothing's funny when you're not meeting deadlines. And that really stuck with me, right? Nobody wants to buy the next thing when you're not kind of delivering on the piece of service and solution that they've already bought from you and delivering at a high level. So adding value is important all across the board. I certainly see that in, annual business reviews and quarterly business reviews that we deliver to our customers. They do all start with, we call them ABRs, and they all start with an IBR or an internal business review, right? Where we're making sure that internally we've really pressed on the client data to make sure that it is insightful, that we're bringing our best practices across a similar client set and more, right? So really making sure we're not just spitting out data, but that we're providing that insight. And then, recommending, that's when we get the opportunity really to recommend solutions that matter and really kind of, make it easy for our customers to understand what they should do with the learnings as well. Fortunately, in my part of the world, healthcare costs is a big piece of budget for pretty much every employer in the country and increasingly globally as well. And people costs certainly globally more so too. So fortunately, we can show really hard return on investment for most of our programs. We're about to publish, we just got from a third party a great study showing some hard dollar savings to our healthcare costs. So that helps. But obviously, every customer wants to see it for them. So maybe that would be my number one strategy, retain and grow. I think our number two I would put out there is, really make sure we're being the partner of the future for our customers too. And I think more than anything, this is from a product perspective. It's always a balancing act for me, for, our leadership team to balance listening to what clients are asking for right now, and watching the market to create what we believe, maybe we know, or we can believe they will need in the future. Sure. It's hard because, of course, we all have limited resources that we're putting against development and other development opportunities, and we all want to say yes to clients.
Right.
But I have seen, in my years of experience, that our biggest opportunities for growth will sit in solutions that clients haven't thought of yet.
Sure,
right. So
sure.
we need to do with that, some of that thinking for them and have those solutions ready when they're ready as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely makes sense. And what a great answer. And sounds like a significant amount of, you said, I think 40% of your growth comes from, providing more value to those clients. And it sounds like just educating them, letting them understand, not only providing their data, but make sure they understand what their data is saying and where there's opportunities inside that data to continue to find more value, which obviously creates more opportunity for your organization as well.
Right. Yep.
Last question on this topic here. So everybody's looking for the next big marketing hack or secret tip or anything like that. Anything you're doing today that's just absolutely crushing it over anything else that you might want to share?
Yeah, I'll share a few. I'll try to keep some of them my secret too, but no, I'll share. So I do think, it's hard to think of any single thing. And I think that's part of what's real about the challenge of selling in today's environment, certainly B2B selling, which is my world. When we look at the complexity of the sales and marketing world today, I think, the multitude of touch points that you need to have is just real and needs to be embraced, right? We track greater than 25 touch points on every account in just marketing activity alone before they even talk to our sales reps.
Wow.
But I think that's kind of it, right? Understanding that it takes that long. That is how people want to buy today, right? They want to do, they will do. And whether or not you serve it up or your competitors do, they will do a lot of interaction with your materials, your kind of market presence before they engage in a sales cycle. Now, the good news is they're often further into their sales cycles than they used to be when they called us like right away.
Yep.
But I think the job for us as marketers and for commercial organizations is creating a diverse enough experience that works for those various buyers at the varied points that they are in the sales cycle, and kind of keeps that engine turning to make sure you always have fresh ideas and materials. So that looks like multimodal. It looks like, certainly tracking your ROI in all of the different ways that you're investing, and then making sure that you have kind of a good topical flow to be addressing different buyer needs as the kind of buyer interest progresses as well. I will say one of the things that's super important for us is to track the ROI of each of the ways we're spending, in particular, our marketing spend here. One example from 2023 learnings is we really moved away quite a bit from email. I think 2023 was a bit of like the death knell of email. We just saw, and I think a lot of businesses saw, open rates plummet, security protocols increase quite a bit as to what will get through a spam filter, even just individuals' knowledge of, don't click on that. That looks a little suspicious, right? Sure. I mean, you can't send an email with an attachment to someone that doesn't know you. They'll never open it, right? So moving away from emails, that was well supported through our ROI tracking last year when we thought about our spend in there and what the types of leads we were getting and the close rates for those leads as well. And this year, we're really responding to where we saw positive ROI last year, which is really into events and then really a broad event strategy, right? So in our world, as in many, there's conferences that are a great opportunity to engage with prospective and current clients. And we saw last year that was one of the greatest areas of return. We saw not only high lead generation, but also high quality lead generation, right? A great close rate against them as well. So now we're really looking at those events and really laddering up the opportunities that we have to engage with people around the events, like a pre-event, a sneak peek of what our conference topic will be, follow-ups following the event in a multimodal way as well, right? Blending webinars, some email, but also social, personal outreach, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that was an amazing answer. So it definitely sounds like, again, you've got a lot of irons in the fire, trying different tactics here, trying to figure out how to continue, but very helpful. Sure. And we are seeing just with some of our clients do that, the event side of things, definitely as an opportunity for, eyeballs and awareness, but then the ongoing thought leadership, drip marketing, things of that nature that continue to support that original interest and see it through to accelerate interest until it eventually take complete action has been definitely something that's been on the up and up since 2023.
Yep.
Yep. Laura, can you share any recent wins that have exceeded your clients' expectations?
Yes, I would be remiss to call out anything other than our merger, which I've already talked about. But the bringing together of Virgin Pulse, which was is a well-being really thought leader and leader in the global space of employee well-being and really personal well-being, right? That everyday lifestyle improvement and management, and then health comp with health plan administration, really managing fully the health plan benefits and experience that an employer traditionally offers here in the United States. That combination has not been traditionally seen together. But the reality is today, as Personify Health, we can support the full continuum of what it means to manage health, from those everyday lifestyle choices to using the right doctors and facilities if you get sick or you're diagnosed with a condition. We also blend the enjoyment and daily support that goes along with well-being with the more acute, sometimes candidly, I think we all know this, really stressful experience of working through a new diagnosis or a health need for you or a family member, made better by intuitive technology, expert live support, and ultimately the trust that's created by supporting those full health needs as well. So the response from our client base has been really amazing, right? As always, our customers want to make sure that we continue to do the thing they bought from us really well. And we won't forget to stay committed to that. But really do, of course, see this as a 1 + 1 = 5 or 6 value proposition for our clients. So I've been excited about their response and interest in broadening that value proposition with us, and the value, again, that we're creating for them, and maybe a full circle moment there.
I think value is going to be the buzzword of the day today.
Yes, right.
Laura, I've got 2 more questions for you. We spoke a little while ago. You were mentioning some of the things that helped in your career advancement were some people that were maybe mentors in your life, but have you had any, it sounds like you've had some mentors in your life. Could you talk about how they helped you in your journey of growth?
Yeah, absolutely. I have had several mentors in my life, right? And I think one of the questions that someone asked me, like, do they know they're mentors of you? And I don't have any that are been formal mentors, but I believe they do know. They've been mentors to me. The names that come quickly to my head are Jay Singer, Mark Correa, who was the CEO of a former company that I was with, and then my current CEO is candidly a mentor of mine as well, Chris Mahalik. And what universally I think of them is, like, first and foremost, they taught me things. I always am looking for people around me that have, skills and experiences beyond what I have. Either, at that time or today. And each of those individuals took the time to let me ask questions, test theories that I have. What about? And then generally just kind of ride along on their career, right? To learn well-doing with them as well. So I've been super grateful for the exposure and, opportunity to, ask the dumb questions and then learn along. I will say, also the other thing or a second thing that I think of when I think of those mentors for me, and maybe mentors generally, they really pushed me to do more than I thought was possible. Not one of them hasn't had a few raised voice motivation conversations with me. But, they kind of believed in me in ways that, maybe made me uncomfortable. And that's been a huge part of my career growth. And I would say maybe lastly, they also let me push them. Right. They allowed me to take more responsibility and independence than maybe my age or experience might have made obvious at that time. There was kind of a sense of kind of believing in me beyond what I believed in me, and then also believing in me when I thought I could do more than they asked.
Yeah, that's an amazing answer. And it's ironic that you kind of mentioned most of the guests who answer this question there is a discussion about, did they formally know they were mentors, or was it kind of like an unspoken thing?
Yeah.
My mentorship experience, we never had formal conversations about it, but one of my largest mentor, a couple times we would have one of those aha moments, and he would go back, "You're welcome, grasshopper," and it comes from an old man out there.
Yes.
So I think
Yeah.
in an unspoken way, he was kind of saying that. So it was never something we had a formal conversation about. My gosh, did some people help me in my journey? And I think, as you said, I think their experience, their ability to share their experiences creates a brighter, bigger, further out North Star that maybe you don't have visibility of, that you start to now even be aware of it. Doesn't mean you're comfortable with it, but you're at least even aware of it. And then over time, you start to either have the desire to go after it, or you start to be, but they just create an opportunity to see over the trees you can't see outside of today. And those mentors can be so helpful. And
Absolutely.
most people don't just surround themselves with other brilliant, talented people. And a lot of mentors bring that to others. And quite frankly, a lot of people who answer this question as well say, sometimes their mentors saw more in them than they saw themselves and pushed them up a little bit.
Yeah.
It created some of that scaffolding, as you brought up, that helped them with their career that they didn't know they were ready for. But with the mentorships, coaching, and little urging, it helped them develop themselves beyond what they thought they could have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another question for you. You've got a lot going on. You seem very, very good at what you do. Where do you find your source of inspiration these days? Where you besides mentors, where are you learning from?
Yeah, absolutely. Learning is kind of, I'm a lifelong learner. If any of you have taken Strength Finders, it's one of my top 5 is learner. So I am always hungry for the next thing to know, right? The next thing to be an expert at. I am a book reader. So I always have a book for pleasure, like a novel, and a book for professional on my bedside table at any given time. The book I'm reading right now is The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership. And that kind of movement of conscious leadership's got my attention right now. Getting to the next level of leadership. Leading leaders, which I have the opportunity to do today. My team is a bunch of, really smart, accomplished leaders themselves, right? So getting to my next level so that I can, give them room to do their great thing, as well as a focus of mine right now. So that's the book on my bedside table right now. I do go to a bunch of conferences. I'm actually headed to an industry conference tomorrow, and the week after that, et cetera. I try to go to at least one kind of sales growth conference a year. And I would say I try to not go to more than 2. That one of the important things to me about learning is that I don't just kind of rack up ideas in my brain, but I really try to get through, okay, what of this can I apply? And candidly, not rack up so many ideas that I just get overwhelmed for choices. But go after a list of actions that I can get after, and make sure that those have a chance to maybe take a little root before I go to the next one and bug my team with all the things that I think we should do next.
Thank you for sharing those. It's funny, now that we're going back to conferences myself too, I realized what a source of opportunity it is to learn from some of those, whether it be from the speakers or just by able to share experience with the other attendees in the room. I forgot what I was missing out for the 4 years of the pandemic before going back to conferences, which again, 2023 and now in 2024 seem to be spinning right back into where they were pre-pandemic.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we've been talking to Laura Walmsley, the Chief Commercial Officer at Personify Health. Laura, if anyone wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, would welcome it. LinkedIn's a great way. Easy to find. Laura Walmsley would welcome your outreach.
Well, that's great. That's great. Laura, thank you so much for being a guest on the Growth Fire podcast. We appreciate your time. We appreciate your insights, and we wish you continued success on your journey of growth.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Growth Fire podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.